Alright, so today we're talking about multiplying fractions with manipulatives. Now, I actually saw this a long time before I took this class about actually using Legos to kind of help us understand fractions. So, in this case, I'm going to use these blocks, which are these 2x8s or these 8-piece parts, as one whole. So we could think about these ones as one whole. So every time these are going to be a whole. Versus these 2x2s are going to be representative of half. So it'll be 1 half. Or we think about it as a 1 and a 1/2. These pieces here, these 1x2s, are going to essentially be 1/4. So it'll be 1/4. F-O-U-R-T-H. 1/4. Last one, unfortunately, I only have these little dinky ones. This is going to stand for 1/8. E-I-G-H-T-H, 1/8, 1/8. So what I wanted to show you here then is if I have something like 4 times 1/2, which is essentially like saying 4 halves. Well, if I take these halves here and put them together, I have 4. And if you notice, they essentially make exactly 2 wholes. So another way to think about 4 times 1/2 would be 2 whole pieces. So now, if I look over to the right over here, I have some more examples of this. Let's take a look. So for some of these, unfortunately, I have to use some of these smaller pieces. So let's take a look. Now, this first one, we talk about 5/4. Well, the fourths I actually have are these 1x2s. So I'm going to use 5 of them. If I put 5 of them together like this, well, it kind of almost matches up with one of these whole pieces, but has one extra one here. So essentially becomes a whole and one extra fourth. So we could think about it as 5/4, which is essentially going to be a whole and one extra fourth. Just kind of like what we have here. If I try to do something like 4 times 1/8, well, I can put together 4/8. Here are my little 8th pieces together. Well, if I put all 4 of them together, it essentially creates about the same as 1/2. Or if I compare it to a whole piece here, it looks like it kind of creates half of that whole piece. So 4 times 8 is essentially going to give us 4/8, which is essentially 1/2 piece. Now, looking at this next one, which is a little bit harder, we have a 1/2 times a 1/4. Well, the best way I could think about trying to do this is if I take a 1/2 piece here, but then I try to split it into fourths. So here, I took a 1/2 piece here and I split it into 4 little pieces. So we're going to take one of these, because we're only going to take 1/4. So here is my 1/2 piece split into fourths, and I'm only going to take one of it, which basically becomes 1/8. So if we think about this, 1 times 1 would be 1, which becomes an 1/8 piece. Well, lastly, I want to look at this one, which is 6/4 times a 1/2. Well, let's take 6 of our 4th pieces, these 1x2s. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here's the 6th one. Let's use this one instead. There we go. All right, so here are 6 of them, right? Which is essentially going to be about a whole and about a 1/2, if you want to think about it in terms of that context. Well, what we're going to try to do now is that we're going to take half of them, basically splitting them into 2 piles. Well, if I take these 6 pieces and put them into 2 piles of 3, that essentially leaves me with only 3/4. So if I think about it like this will actually become 6/8, but actually becomes 3/4 because I split them into 2 piles of 3. And that's just a nice, easy way to think about fractions with Legos and manipulatives.